I'm Raika Sarkett. I'm the voice practice lead at Moonshot. And today I'm going to be sharing with you guys about designing lovable voice experiences. So we help clients design conversational interfaces for Alexa, Google Home, kind of any platform. And so today I'm just going to talk about how we make it more lovable. So with that said, I will switch into the presentation mode. All right, wonderful. So hopefully you guys can all see my screen. And you may be thinking that love and business don't really go together. Love is for people and relationships, but love is the greatest predictor of business success. Think about it. The companies you return to, there's something that you loved about the experience. And sure, we have love-hate relationships with companies, but I bet there was something lovable about it that got you to return. Maybe you loved how quickly they got you your order, or the attention to detail they gave, like a handwritten note in the package. And it was that lovable aspect of the experience that keeps bringing you back. And this isn't just theory. Forrester did a study that was very specifically focused on whether experience-driven businesses have better business performance. And what they found is that good experience is good for business. And we see that across the board. As you can see here, a bunch of different metrics that speak to how it improved the business overall. But most voice experiences are not lovable. Voice is transforming computing by providing a natural means of interaction, which means the bar is higher. It's fast and frictionless. We can speak faster than we can type, but while screens are foreign to us, conversation is not. So people have a lower tolerance for a bad voice experience. So how do we make it lovable? First, I think we need to acknowledge that our customers don't really care about buzzwords. They care about improving their lives and living with purpose. And as we all know, purpose is really personal. As tempting as it is to skip steps in the creative process, or trying to merge multiple steps into one to save time, the product undeniably suffers. And we're left with a product that doesn't really do what we want or need it to. So to truly learn, we need to spend time with our customers, talking and observing them, because lovable design requires an understanding of the people it's being created for. And in my opinion, the reason why most voice experiences are not lovable is because they don't feel like good conversations yet. And we've all experienced good and bad conversations. And those good, lovable conversations have a few things I think we need to pay more attention to when designing voice experiences. The first one is that they're dynamic and personal. They also adapt to body language cues, whether that's head nods of agreement or confused facial expressions. The conversations are not rigid. And they show courtesy, making sure the respective parties feel heard and the conversation is not dragging on. And I think that we can translate these lovable aspects to our voice experiences. And this list by no means is complete, but these are a couple that I do want to highlight. To make voice experiences more dynamic and personal, we can use the dynamic keys for customized interactions. For example, using someone's name or a previous answer to a question to personalize the script. And we can use sound. Sound is a big one for lovability, whether it's a sound effect to cue a certain behavior or using sound to provide the experiential component in which we can add emotion with music or voice actors. We can add lovability without interfering with the functionality or utility of the experience through sound. And we can make the experiences interactive and engaging instead of a one-sided conversation by building checks into the conversation, asking for validation that the assistant is on the right track, and by allowing the users to decide when and where they want more information, we can really start to build a relationship. And then finally, we can show courtesy by avoiding circular experiences. On the business side of things, we want the user to stay in the skill for as long as possible, but there's a point in every conversation when everyone knows it's time to wrap it up. Voice assistants need to end things on a good note and in a succinct fashion. But the truth is, no matter how lovable an experience is, if we aren't building the right one, people won't use it. Voice is the Wild West, so we need to figure out which product we should make. And the best way to do this is by talking and collaborating with the end user. Customers' expectations and wants are rapidly changing, and it's easy to stay within the business and rely on the expertise of our staff. But we learn the most when we talk to the people that will be using our product or service. And UX research and analytics are a powerful duo to do just that. Leveraging these two will help us uncover what we should make. And of course, there are good and bad ways to talk to our users. Relying on surveys, focus groups, or analytics alone cannot bring us the level of understanding we really need to design lovable experiences. Instead, we really need to involve our users in the design process. We need to learn their behaviors, learn more about their attitudes, and most importantly, the ways of communicating. I know I've personally had experiences when I know my Google Home has the answer to the question, but I can't quite phrase it in the right way. So I'm just in this kind of loop of trying different ways to get the answer, and it gets really frustrating. And one more quick story here. So to highlight the importance of involving users in the design process, when working on a voice skill for a client earlier this year, we went into the field and spent time with the kids we were designing the skill for. And the prototype we shared with them attempted a playful introduction. The guide, Professor C, introduced himself and said, "Ask me what the C stands for." The kid would then ask, "What does the C stand for?" And instead of answering, he playfully said that we don't have time for that. And he continued on. And so while adults always laughed at this, the kids found it really frustrating, and they had like a negative expression on their face when this happened. And so from this experience, we learned a lot, and we were able to adapt the experience before we went into the market. So we've talked a lot about the importance of collaborating and talking with customers before, but we also need to continue doing that during and after we've gone to market as well. Because data really is the backbone for continuously delivering lovability. And so all this rich information that we're gathering throughout the conversation helps us to continue to enhance and make smart connections as we continue to build out and evolve the skill. And with voice, we get to do this we have a really special opportunity to have a real conversation and build a relationship with customers in a way that we never have before. And in other words, it's giving us really rich data. So we're used to working in a paradigm where we have research, design, build in a very linear fashion. But with voice, we get the opportunity to continuously do research and live out the agile methodology, getting our product into the market faster, and using those ongoing learnings to help us as we continue to design and build. After all, we have to test something to get it right. We need to constantly be checking our assumptions and making adjustments where we need to. As we've learned from design research over the years, what people say and what people do are not always the same. And an iterative approach helps us design fewer features in which all are lovable. And if we dive a bit deeper into the data part, 90% of data has been created in the last 2 years. Voice can collect really rich data for us, as we've mentioned, and with voice assistants, we're able to scale and listen to as many customers as we want, not just the loudest or those available to meet in person. And the more data we have, the more patterns and insights we can uncover, enabling us to better understand not just a subset of our most vocal customers, but all of our customers. And with this new set of rich data, we can run sentiment analysis and do machine learning to extract those insights that would otherwise be lost. This is one of the things that excites me personally the most about voice, how it removes constraints. With a website or app, we can only really know how well our solution is working. It's difficult, if not impossible, through analytics to learn or the other ways that they would want to interact with us. But with voice, we can capture all of that. And an example is if we're Ritual, the vitamin company, and we've built a skill all around commerce, but people are starting to ask us better sleep or other more lifestyle-driven questions, we've now uncovered new ways to expand the business. And as we've discussed, the better we understand our customers, the better we can serve them holistically, as the insights we gain from voice can positively impact all aspects of the business. So using AI platforms like voice to process data is a significant improvement in gathering business intelligence and improving efficiency. We've learned from the startup world that we don't want to do too much too soon. We must think big, but start small and evolve from there. So we've been talking a lot about lovable design and figuring out what to build. But to know if a design is successful, we must define what success looks like so that we can track and measure it. And we found that Google's HEART framework helps us do just that. With 5 metrics: happiness, engagement, adoption, retention, and task success, the success of voice experiences becomes measurable. And using this tool, we can take each metric that applies, capture the goal for it, the signals, and the metrics to measure success on a large scale. So if happiness is really important to us, our goal may be for users to feel like the voice experience is unique. A signal would then be a satisfaction rating gathered either through a survey or in-person interviews, in which we now have metrics around satisfaction, perceived ease of use, and maybe a net promoter score. And so I won't go into too much depth here, but I do really want to share 3 tips about using this methodology. The first is that it can help us align on our goals. So I've seen this happen a bunch with client work, where it basically, throughout the process, we uncover that people have different goals and objectives. And so without alignment, we're fighting for the steering wheel and we can't really make as much progress as we want to. And so this framework can really help us uncover the misalignments and it'll help us ultimately align to one specific goal. And then the second is to choose signals you expect to be sensitive to changes in your design, so that the information that we're gathering ultimately has a clear connection back to the design. And then the third one is to define metrics that are actionable and answer key concerns of the business. So with this approach, we can understand what people really want and need, and what Lovable means for us personally as we build this. So to wrap it up, the barrier to entry for voice is really low, so we need to begin the conversation. Starting with something simple, experimenting quickly, leveraging the unique offerings of voice, and intelligently evolving the experience from there will really help us untap new potential. Because in the world of Sam Altman from Y Combinator, it's best to build something that a small number of users love than a large number of users like. If this small number, this tribe, is passionate about it, a group of advocates is born and will help it fly. So with that, I'll pass it back over to you, Thomas. Thank you all for joining. I hope you all have learned something new today and that this has been a lovable experience for you.
Yeah, here I am. Thanks. Absolutely. Thank you very much. And yeah, we have definitely some questions here. We have some time. That's perfect. So, for example, Giselle, I just showed it on the stream. Like, what's your opinion on female versus male voices?
That's a great question. That's very broad. Yes, go ahead. What were you saying, Thomas?
Like, her question is like, what's your opinion on female versus male voices? You know, like all these voice speakers have the gender thing, you know. What do you think about that? Yeah. I believe, Giselle, no?
I believe, yeah, it's a big question that people are asking right now. I think ultimately we need to think about the brand and what feels authentic and how we basically create an experience that helps bring that to life. And so I don't think that there's a right or wrong necessarily. I think that the brand needs to figure out which one best represents them. And if it's incorporating both or incorporating one or the other, I think it's through experimentation that we can help discover that. Because tone also gets into it. There's a lot behind, I think, just gender. There's a lot to cover there.
Okay.
Yeah, it's great.
Thanks. Giselle, I hope this answers your question. And now Erlon, he asked, like, what sectors are you most engaged and why? So in what projects or sectors you currently work?
Yeah, I would say, I think content and subscription services, I think both of those are really unique opportunities for voice to play a role in. I think they can quickly add value given the constraints that we have right now with voice. And I think there's lots of potential and ways to enhance that very experiential industry.
Okay.
So that's a yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Erland. Hope that's okay, because yeah, we have some other questions. Like Samir, he asked, like, do you make only voice or multimodal bots? So it's just voice solutions, or like chatbots, other bots?
Yeah. So we do both. I'd say our focus right now is on voice, since there's a lot of potential there. But I think ultimately the best conversational experience is going to, like, voice isn't always the best experience, right? You have to be in a certain environment for that to work. If it's a more private conversation, a chatbot can be great. So we have experience in both of those domains. And I think ultimately there's a lot of potential. I think they can play off of each other nicely. And when you look at omni-channel and the way that digital has progressed in that way, I think that voice is similar, right? I think there's ways to move the conversation and look at continuously engaging in that way.
Okay, sure. I can add here something. What is your opinion about the avatars, like video, like mix of voice and picture on an avatar?
Yeah, I personally don't have a lot of experience designing with avatars, but I think it does a nice way of personifying even more, and you can have body gestures and things like that. So I think from an experience perspective, it opens up the door a lot to do even more.
And do you have another question, like clients who are asking this, or is it like saying like, yeah, voice is great, but we would like to have like some more, or is it not that many questions from your customers?
Could you rephrase that a bit? So
Yeah,
are you
about
asking?
sorry, about avatars. So people say like, yeah, we would like to have like a nice avatar talking to our customers through a chat, you know, or through an interaction.
Yeah, I'd say we encounter customers that have kind of both approaches of coming with a specific request of, I really want to use voice to do this, or more open to it of, I want to use voice, I don't really know how, and we can help them understand their customers and their brand and where we can engage in that space.
Okay. Perfect, thanks. Yes, Samir here wants to ask like as well about projects. I think you mentioned this already, what you're currently working on. And Erland, this is, I think, an interesting question again, like how your customers react on your approach. Do they need to adapt first? So you're showing like something, I would say, different than others you are doing.
Definitely. That's a great question. I would say, again, it kind of depends. I think some of our customers are more in the mindset of, I really want to go engage and get in front of people and show them my product before it's finished. And then I'd say other ones, there's definitely some skepticism. And one thing that's important to us is that we don't just go do this approach by ourselves. We do it with our clients, and they're a part of the process as well. So they're coming with us to engage with customers and do research and a part of the ideation sessions, and making sure that all of their expertise is being factored in. And so I'd say there's definitely some hesitation on some sides, but by the end, I think they really start to advocate through the customer findings, which is really cool, and start to speak our language as well.
Cool. Perfect. I hope, Erland, this answers your questions. And Giselle, I think you already mentioned this, but I show it here again. Like on what platforms? You said like Google, Alexa. On what platforms are you developing and what data you use? So because you need a lot of data to get like smart interactions, no?
You do, yeah. So the platforms that we're specializing and focusing on right now are Google and Alexa. And so really working to create good experiences on both of those platforms, since they have some nuances. And then in terms of the data that we're using, so I'd say there's multiple types of data that we use throughout the process. Some of that is quantitative and qualitative, but ultimately the data that we get really depends on the project and what we're trying to validate and what we're trying to learn. And so we'll kind of customize it based on that. I know that's kind of a general answer, but hopefully that provides some insight as well.
Yeah, I hope, Giselle, yeah, you need to tell us like if it's so sophisticated, but I believe yes, no?
Yeah.
Okay, so no reaction is good reaction.
Perfect.
Okay, so let me check then the chat if we covered everything. Normally, you know, people, please use the chat to ask questions because normally you don't have a speaker live, you know, to really react and make a lovable conversation with Raika. So yeah, if there are no more questions or comments, I think that's it for the moment. But let me switch off this one second. Okay. Yeah, yeah, I think that's it. But if you have any questions or follow-ups, I would say more than happy if you get in contact with Raika. We share anyway the replay and all the contact information from her, and then looking forward, she's definitely looking forward getting some more questions or even proposal for a project, no?
Yeah, absolutely. Best way I think is LinkedIn. You can find me on there, and I'd love to continue the conversation with you guys.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, I think we are nearly already out of time, but if there are no questions, comments, I would say thank you very much for joining us again, I have to say, and it was a really nice experience. Wishing you good luck, and yeah, talk to you soon again.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.